We are exploding this air conditioning e-commerce brand right now with Google Ads. So what I want to do is I want to lift the curtains and show you exactly what scale is supposed to look like with Google. And along with that, I want to give you a few pointers on how you can achieve scale like this for your own brand as well. See, the thing is, most brand owners believe that scale with Google is supposed to take weeks and months. So as a result, what do? Because they think that it's not a fast-paced platform, they allow things to just run in the background, which almost turns Google into a set it and forget it platform, just like it has been for this brand for quite some time now. Or on the other hand, there's brand owners on the other end of the spectrum that believe that as long as there's search volume on Google, you can basically force your way into the Google Ads algorithm and bribe it to rank you higher and to explode your brand. These people on the other side of the spectrum completely disregard the fact that Google Ads is actually a search-based platform and it requires time and effort and consistent momentum to actually scale. The final biggest kind of misconception most brand owners have about Google is that without Meta ads or TikTok ads, Google just doesn't work. And this brand, the reason why I want to make this video is because this brand defies all logic and goes against almost all of these key misconceptions I just mentioned, and it's still exploding with Google. It's still now all the way up to doing about a couple $1,000s per day, all the way up to in the peak day was $17,000 in revenue at a 3x ROAS. Because see, the thing is with this brand, number one, there is no Meta or TikTok ads running at the moment for this brand. They're literally suspended on Meta because of their Facebook ads policy violation issues and just their overall approach with Meta. TikTok ads is not even existent at this point because their budget is so heavily skewed on Google because they know Google Ads has power, has capacity, and can work. And third, because there is no outside influence from any other traffic sources, there's very little branded traffic. So all of these keywords that we see right here, they're pure cold traffic acquisition keywords. I mean, we're already ranking for over 126,000 keywords because right now it is summertime and more people are starting to buy air conditioners. But even then, we have excluded branded traffic keywords to the point there's literally 5% to maybe even 1% influence of brand traffic on this brand as a whole. So it defies all of those three big misconceptions most brand owners have, and it's still crushing it. It's still scaling profitably to the very next level. But how do we kind of translate this into an actual strategy which you can walk away with, which you can implement on your own brand? Because see, the thing is, this is not the only brand we have achieved similar scale for, and because we have worked with over 500 brands at this point, which by the way, if you run a brand making $50,000 a month or more in revenue, you need some extra help scaling profitably and consistently like this to the next level with Google. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below to directly schedule a call with me, where I'll do a free audit for your brand and show you exactly how your brand can scale just like this. But in general, the main way to scale in this trajectory is only after understanding a few key points about this overall campaign strategy and in terms of the overall approach with the foundation we have taken here. The first thing is, because this is an air conditioning brand and right now we're entering the season, seasonality obviously helps. If we're going in the main season, it's going to be that much easier to scale the brand consistently and profitably. So that is always going to have a big impact, especially in your industry, if there are any sorts of seasons that follow. Second, if there's any sorts of trends going on for your products, if there's any sorts of influx of overall traffic, meaning there's all of a sudden more people searching for your products. This could be done, by the way, with external traffic. Maybe a celebrity talked about your specific product or the industry that you're in, or maybe you started running a lot of heavy Meta ads or TikTok ads, and now that is directly influencing the cold traffic keywords which people are searching for. That obviously influences this level of scale. That makes it that much easier to achieve it. So there is an aspect of running Meta ads on TikTok ads on the side, which can help the overall cause with Google. But even if you don't have any of these two things going on, just having some sort of steady search volume helps in situations like this. And it doesn't have to be peaks and troughs. It could be something as simple as, for example, if we go on over to the keyword planner tool to further illustrate this, we just want to kind of get an idea of what consistent search volume should look like. So for example, if we type in a keyword 3D printer, this is the easiest example which can show some kind of consistency. We can see that yes, there are peaks and troughs, not only in the last 12 months, but also in the last 24 months. October, November, December usually are much better for this industry. But overall, this is still a decent level of consistency. This is over 5 million individuals searching for this keyword in this industry during the slow slow season, which is May, June, July for this brand. And even in a situation like that, that level of consistency means you can still explode from where you are right now, from getting a small piece of this 5 million audience to getting a bigger piece of that 5 million audience in general, which means this level of exponential scale is still possible. But the key here to make any of this happen, especially in the consistent industries, is to capture more impression share. It's to dominate more of the existing markets. And you're not just going to dominate the existing market by bribing the algorithm, by throwing more money at Google, by bidding higher. That's the old way of doing things. The new way of doing things in 2026 and onwards with the AI revolution is to reframe your brand's authority by incentivizing the algorithm to show more of your ads. And there's a sweet formula which kind of determines how Google sees your ads, how Google sees your brands as a whole. The formula starts off with, of course, bids plus budgets plus ad relevancy, plus the overall expected CTRs of your ads. Simply put, yes, bids and budgets are important, but we're trying to omit that completely from this equation because the last thing we want to do is spend a fortune just to have more sales or spend a fortune just to rank higher and get more market share. We want to keep things steady in terms of spend, but we want to focus on the other side of the equation, which is the ad relevancy versus the expected CTRs. In this situation, that's exactly how we approach things. We rapidly, along with the changing season, focus on having a stronger foundation. We focus on reframing the brand authority to make it go from just brand awareness and just building off of the brand name it already had to focusing more on building off of the product itself and the unique factors of the actual imagery that we have, the product feed that we have, so on and so forth. Because the thing is, this equation in simple words is all about the right foundation plus campaign structure based on what's already working. Now, this kind of brings me to the main point of the video, which is what are some of the key pointers that allow this level of scale to even be introduced? What can you take away from this right now? First things first, I want to go over our product feed strategy and how we ended up making this winning product feed approach, because the thing is, this brand is only running on 6 SKUs, but even then it's doing 10, 15, almost $20,000 a day in revenue. What did we do to make this product feed so powerful? The thing is, of course, a lot of this information is blurred for security reasons, but the product titles, we focused on the product titles in the slower seasons and the slower days, ensuring we're doing 2 things. Number 1, we're using the insight section to find what's already working versus what isn't and what's showing more demand. Number 2, we're implementing a product title strategy that's the opposite of the competition. So in this industry, what we noticed is that a lot of the brands had product titles, for example, which were very small or cutthroat to the point. We made it big on purpose. We did the same for the product images. Instead of just being another brand that's selling air conditioning, we wanted to stand out. Majority of the brands in this industry don't want to take the hard route, so they go with easy plain white background images. We took things a bit further. We actually tested AI imagery. So all of these images you see right here are basically artificially generated with different kinds of softwares. And believe it or not, in this situation, they actually work great. I don't normally recommend AI, but in situations like this where the industry is cutthroat, very, very similar to each other, sometimes it does make the impact, which it did in this situation. So we implemented the top 1% of the 1%er strategy, meaning what the other brands that were already crushing it were doing. We looked at what they weren't doing and we implemented the top 1% strategy within that, which allowed us to have such a solid foundation that even with the low CTR, we're still crushing it and we're still starting to get decent results from overall this product feed. But from there, what we did is we focused already on what's working the best in terms of the campaigns, in terms of the keywords. Again, the slower seasons or the seasons which are not the most important, we use as a testing ground, because the thing is, most brands do this wrong. They try to test stuff during the peak season. You want to forget about testing during peak season. Focus on the 90-10 rule, where 90% of your budget should be allocated towards what's scaling. Maybe 10%, maybe less than that, should be allocated towards what needs to be tested, because peak season, it's all about profitability. It's all about volume and scale, which essentially in this situation, we notice that performance max campaigns along with a little bit of search does the best. The standard shoppings didn't do that well. Demand gen didn't do that well. Nothing else did well. Just a plain old PMax with some asset-based approaches, of course, focusing on individual products and the individual air conditioning units we sell, did the best in this situation. But third big pointer I want to point out is the simpler the approach is, the better it works. In this situation, we did the double trouble strategy is what I like to call it. Now, the double trouble strategy is something new that we're testing out and we're finding a lot of success with, is where your main winning product, for example, in this situation, spending the most money, instead of running it inside just one smart bidding campaign, which is ideally PMax, we run it in multiple different Performance Max campaigns. But the only thing that's different between both is the overall setup of the Performance Max campaign in general. So for example, this Performance Max campaign is running after that best-selling product right here. All of the assets are geared around that, and all of the variations are geared around that bestseller. And in terms of the setup, in terms of the way we have structured it, it's a very simple setup. We're running it on a basic restriction, because with any best-selling campaign strategy, you don't want to just let it run freely. We're running it on a 150% target ROAS because we want to get as much cold traffic acquisition as possible from this campaign while spending a lot of money. That's the main goal right now, because we want to make the best use of that peak season. But we also have another campaign running right now, also a Performance Max with the same product and the same variations, but in this situation, we have no restrictions at all. The goal of this campaign is to now go out into the wild, basically gather as much data points as possible, not only for the audience that converts at a 1.5x minimum ROAS, but also anything lower than that or anything a lot higher than that. This is what I call the visionary campaign, where it goes out into the market, it goes out into the world and tries to find as many winners as possible from the realm of the campaigns out there. But from there, basically the double trouble campaign approach basically is designed to then enter auctions twice at the same time. So in the normal world, this would simply mean that we're bidding against ourselves. But in a situation like this, it doesn't really matter, because we are bidding against ourselves to then get more impression share. And if one campaign doesn't win the auction, hopefully another will. That's the kind of main goal with this double trouble strategy. But from there, the last main pointer in this situation is the scaling strategy. As I mentioned earlier, we don't want to kind of go off and veer off path into trying different things, hoping something else works. We're trying to stick to the basics, the fundamentals of what already we know works, which is shopping focus with Performance Max assets in there. And that's all we're doing. We're going to focus on vertical scaling, taking the budget from 3,200 a day to 4,000, 5,000 as aggressively as we can, because our goal is to spend 100,000 a day minimum before the peak season ends. So going into June, July, and August. Very simple approach, very simple tactic. But at this point, it should be very clear that scale takes the amount of time you let it take. It can take a couple of days, it can take a couple of weeks, or it can take a couple of months or even years. But what does help is a clear strategy designed to optimize and reward it when things are going good and build on top of that momentum. This is where most brands go wrong, at least from my experience, which again, if you run a brand making 50,000 or more per month in revenue, you want to scale profitably and aggressively like this without guessing and without sacrificing on actual quality data and ROAS. Scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below to directly schedule a call with me, where I'll do a completely free Google Ads audit for your brand, and let's see how we can potentially work together to make all of this happen.